My sister said I was trying to steal her attention because I wear stylish clothes. When I told her I just enjoy dressing up, she accused me of trying to outshine her and ruin her spotlight. My sister and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, we were close, but it was clear from a young age that she was the one who craved attention. She always had to be the center of it, whether it was at family gatherings or among our friends. I didn't mind, though. I was happy being the quiet one, letting her shine while I kept to myself. But as we got older, I began to develop my own sense of style and confidence. I found joy in experimenting with fashion, using it as a way to express myself. It wasn't about competing with her or seeking validation, it was just something I enjoyed. Little did I know, my newfound confidence would eventually spark tension between us. It all started when I bought a new jacket, something a little bolder than what I usually wore. It was a bright, statement piece, the kind of jacket that catches your eye and demands attention. I remember feeling excited when I tried it on at the store, admiring how it made me feel confident and stylish. I had been playing it safe with my wardrobe for a while, sticking to neutral tones and classic cuts, but this jacket felt like a fresh start, a way to embrace my evolving sense of self. I wore it to a family dinner a few days later, eager to show off my new find. As I walked into the living room, I noticed my sister, Emma, immediately stiffen. She was sitting on the couch, flipping through her phone, but her eyes quickly darted up when I entered. I could tell something was off. The usual warm greeting I expected from her was replaced with a curt smile, and she didn't seem too interested in engaging with me, even though we were always close. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe she was just tired or distracted, I thought. But as the evening went on, I began to notice subtle changes in her behavior. She barely made eye contact, and whenever I spoke, she would offer one-word answers or ignore me altogether. I couldn't understand why, especially since we had been getting along so well recently. But it wasn't until after dinner, when we were all gathered in the living room, that I began to piece it together. Emma stood up to go to the kitchen, and I followed her, hoping to strike up a casual conversation. As soon as we were alone, she turned to me with a cold expression. "So, what's with the jacket?" she asked, her voice sharp. I was taken aback. "What do you mean?" "It's just a jacket, Emma. I thought it looked nice." She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms over her chest. "You always do this. You wear something flashy, and suddenly, it's all about you. It's like you're trying to steal the spotlight." I blinked, unsure if I was hearing her correctly. Steal the spotlight? "Emma, it's just a jacket. I bought it because I liked it. It has nothing to do with you." But she wasn't listening. Her face was flushed with frustration. "That's what you always say, but it's so obvious. You wear all these trendy clothes just to get attention. You know how I feel when people notice you instead of me. It's like you're doing it on purpose." Her words hit me like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We had always been close, and I never once thought that my personal style, something that was purely for me, would make her feel this way. "Emma, I don't do this for attention," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm not trying to outshine you. I just like fashion. It's something I enjoy. You know that." She scoffed, turning away from me. "Right, sure. You say that, but it's obvious you're trying to make me look bad. I'm the one people should be looking at, not you. You're always doing this, taking all the attention for yourself." I felt a pang of hurt. How had we gone from being sisters who supported each other to this? I had never once thought that the way I dressed could cause any tension between us. I had always admired Emma's confidence, even though it sometimes seemed like she was the one who needed to be in the spotlight. But now, she was accusing me of something I had never even considered, of being selfish for enjoying my own personal style. "Emma, I'm not trying to take anything from you," I said softly. "I've never tried to outshine you. I thought we were past this, supporting each other no matter what. I didn't know that something as simple as a jacket would make you feel this way." She turned back to me, her face red with frustration. "Well, maybe you should start thinking about how your actions affect me. You're always so focused on yourself, on what you want, that you don't even realize how it makes me feel." You never even consider how it might be difficult for me to have you constantly trying to one-up me with your outfits. I was stunned. This wasn't just about the jacket anymore. It was about something deeper, something I hadn't even realized was brewing beneath the surface. I had always seen our relationship as a partnership, two people who were different but supported each other's choices. But now, I was faced with the realization that my sister saw my style as a threat to her. It wasn't just a matter of clothing anymore, it was about her own insecurities, her need to be the one who stood out. I tried to stay calm, but the words were starting to spill out before I could stop them. Emma, I didn't mean to hurt you. But you're making it sound like I'm doing this on purpose. I'm not trying to take anything from you. I'm just living my life and expressing myself in a way that feels right for me. She shook her head, clearly not understanding. Well, maybe you should start thinking about me for once. Maybe you should start dressing down, so people can focus on me for a change. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had always thought of our bond as something unshakable, but in that moment, it felt like a rift had formed between us. I had never intended to hurt her, and yet, here we were, caught in a battle over something as trivial as clothing. But the truth was, it wasn't just about the clothes. It was about the deeper layers of competition and resentment that had quietly been building for years. And now, they had come to the surface. The tension between Emma and me didn't ease after that conversation. In fact, it only seemed to grow. Over the next few days, I tried to reach out, to talk things through, but every attempt was met with silence or a cold, dismissive response. It was like she had built a wall between us, and no matter how much I tried to knock it down, she refused to let me in. The hurt was evident in her eyes every time we spoke, but she never fully opened up about what was really bothering her. I started to notice little things. Whenever we were around family or friends, Emma would go out of her way to draw attention to herself, even more so than usual. She would wear the most extravagant outfits, talk loudly about her accomplishments, and try to steer conversations in her direction. It felt like she was trying to prove something, not just to me, but to everyone around us. I couldn't help but wonder if this was all stemming from the jealousy she felt, the insecurity that had slowly been growing inside her, all because of a jacket. It seemed so trivial, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much it affected her. One evening, we were at a family gathering when I noticed her glaring at me across the room. I was wearing a simple, elegant dress, nothing too flashy, just something I felt comfortable in. Yet, there she was, eyes narrowed, her lips pressed together in a tight line. It was hard not to feel self-conscious under her gaze, and I could feel the weight of her judgment even from across the room. I didn't know how to handle it anymore. It wasn't just about fashion anymore, it was about her needing to be the center of attention, about her needing to feel superior. Later that night, we ended up in the kitchen together, alone. I tried to break the ice. Emma, can we talk? I don't want this to come between us. I don't want you to feel like I'm competing with you. She scoffed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, really? Because that's exactly what it feels like. You always make everything about you, and now you've taken it to a whole new level with these outfits. You can't even dress normally anymore without making a statement. I sighed, frustrated by how stuck she seemed in her perspective. It's not about making a statement, Emma. I just like dressing up. It makes me feel good. But it seems like every time I do, you take it personally, like I'm doing it to overshadow you. I don't want to be in competition with you. She leaned against the counter, her arms crossed, looking away from me. You don't get it, do you? It's not just about the clothes. It's about you always trying to take the spotlight, like you need to be the one everyone notices. I've always been the one who's been noticed, and now, suddenly, you think you can just step in and steal that from me? Her words stung, but I didn't back down. I never meant to steal anything from you. I never asked for all the attention. I just wanted to be myself. If that's something you can't accept, then maybe we need to take a step back and figure out where we're going wrong. For a moment, she was silent, her eyes flicking toward the floor. I could see the internal struggle in her expression, but she didn't say anything. It was like she was trapped in her own world of insecurities, unable to see that I wasn't trying to take anything from her. I wasn't trying to make her feel inferior or push her out of the spotlight. I was just living my life in the way that made me happy. But as much as I tried to explain, it was clear that Emma wasn't ready to hear it. She was too wrapped up in her own need to be seen, to be admired, to realize that her insecurities were clouding her judgment. I could feel the rift growing wider between us, and the more I tried to reach her, the more distant she became. It wasn't just about a jacket anymore, it was about something deeper, something that had been simmering for years. The need for attention, the desire to be the center of everything, had finally come to a head. And I wasn't sure how to fix it. In the end, I realized that no matter how hard I tried to explain myself, the issue wasn't really about the clothes. It was about Emma's fear of being overshadowed, her struggle with feeling less important than she had been. And no matter how much I reassured her that I wasn't trying to compete, it was clear that she needed something more from me, something I wasn't sure I could give. As the days passed, the tension between Emma and me didn't ease. It only grew more palpable, and it seemed like every time we were in the same room, there was an invisible wall between us. I started to realize that no matter how much I tried to explain myself, Emma wasn't hearing me. It wasn't just about the clothes anymore. It was about something much deeper, her fear of losing her place in the spotlight, and her inability to share attention with anyone, even me. I tried to give her space, hoping that time would help her process everything, but it seemed to only make things worse. Emma became more distant, more withdrawn. At family events, she would purposefully avoid me, or if we did interact, it was only with passive-aggressive comments. "Oh, look at you, all dressed up again," she would say with a forced smile. "I'm sure everyone's staring at you now." It was hard not to feel guilty. Was I really doing something wrong? All I had done was dress the way I wanted, in a style that made me feel confident. But Emma's reactions made me question myself. Was I being inconsiderate? Was my fashion sense really threatening her that much? One evening, after another awkward encounter, I couldn't take it anymore. I called her up, asking if we could sit down and talk, just the two of us. She hesitated but agreed. When we met up, the tension was thick, and I could feel the walls she had built around herself. "Emma, this can't keep going on," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't know what else to say. I'm not trying to compete with you, and I'm certainly not trying to make you feel invisible. But I can't keep walking on eggshells every time I put on a new outfit." She stared at me for a long moment, her face unreadable. Finally, she spoke, her voice quieter than usual. I don't know how to handle it. I've always been the one people notice, and now it feels like you're taking that away from me." I could see the vulnerability in her eyes now, the raw emotion she had been hiding. It wasn't just about clothes, it was about her own fear of not being enough, of losing her place in the world. And for the first time, I realized that maybe this wasn't about me at all. It was about Emma and the way she saw herself. "I never meant to take anything from you," I said softly. "But I can't change who I am just to make you feel better. I'm not trying to outshine you. I just want to be happy in my own skin." For the first time in weeks, Emma didn't argue. She didn't respond with bitterness. She just sat there, looking at me with a mix of sadness and understanding. And in that moment, I realized that this conversation, this realization, was the first step towards something that could heal the rift between us. But it would take time. Time for Emma to accept herself and time for me to learn how to navigate our relationship without compromising my own sense of identity. After that conversation, things between Emma and me didn't instantly improve, but it felt like we had taken a small step toward understanding each other. The tension didn't disappear overnight, but it was clear that Emma was starting to realize that her insecurities weren't about me, they were about how she saw herself. Slowly, she started to soften, and instead of passive-aggressive comments, there were moments of quiet understanding. One afternoon, I found her in my room, looking at my latest outfit. She turned to me with a hesitant smile. "I still don't get why you like dressing up so much, but I guess it's kind of cool that you're so confident about it." It wasn't much, but it was a start. We weren't fully there yet, but I could see that she was beginning to accept me for who I was, even if it was hard for her to fully let go of the need to be the center of attention. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like a shift in the right direction. Over time, we learned to navigate our differences. I kept wearing the clothes that made me feel good, and Emma started to find her own way of standing out without feeling threatened by me. It wasn't always easy, but I realized that, just like me, Emma needed time to come to terms with her own fears. In the end, we both learned something valuable, that being true to ourselves didn't mean we had to compete with each other. We could still shine in our own ways, without dimming the other's light.